I'm Matti Schneider. I'm a core team member of the Digital Services Incubator, a new task force from the French Prime Minister. We're part of the task force for modernization. So we're about 18 people now, and the task force for modernization throughout is about 200 people. So we're a pretty small task force amidst a huge administration and bureaucracy. Before going to my speech, of course, thanks to the sponsors. That's thanks to them that I'm able to be here today. And thanks also to everyone who's making the Agile Tour Beirut public. So, we work in the heart of the state. And our aim is to spread the culture of digital innovation throughout the administration. So you might have heard, I don't know how well known it is in the Middle East. I know in the Anglo-Saxon countries it is well known that France has quite a bit of bureaucracy. I don't know if you heard about it. As I said, 3 million public agents for 65 million people, and a tradition of public service that's centuries old. So let's say it's pretty rigid. It allows for many great things, but it's not. It sometimes has some difficulties coping with the rapid pace of change, and especially in the ways citizens expect communication nowadays. So, since digital innovation is the opposite of bureaucracy, it's all about delivery, disregarding rules and established practices. So how do we show what is production in such an environment? Well, we do it by incubating state startups. State startups are usually, when I say that, people tell me, well, that's an oxymoron, right? The state is this big intangible thing that delivers critical infrastructure, rules, very large and indefinite ways to live together. And the startups, well, especially in the digital field, they are these very noisy, very rapid things that move around and change things all the time and die pretty quickly also, or suddenly get huge and change the service they are offering one day to the other. So it's true that the state and the startups are very different environments. It's true and it's legitimate. You don't really want to be faced with a state that changes the rules every single day, as a startup might change its service. But both entities have a common point. They are trying to create a usage for a set of users. In the case of the state, it is citizens. In the case of the startups, it is their users, which could be their clients. But the state doesn't wait for 10,000 people to make a commute every day to create roads. You first create the highway and then people will use it, right? And it's the same thing with the startup. If you're in a startup and not in an established business, you want to create something. You know that, you hope that people will handle it and that it will bring them value, but you're not consolidating, building upon something that's already there. So they both create a usage, but they do it with very different interaction and communication ways. And it just happens that one of these ways, the ways of the startups, is more common and more standard for citizens in 2015. People are now expecting digital services to be as easy to use for the administration as it is for the private sector. Why is it easier to order some let's say, I don't know, you order a used computer on some other foreign part of the world, and you can get a notification by text when it's sent and right before it's delivered to your place. And if you want to know how much time is left before you get your immigration visa or something, well, you have to fill in papers and you have to wait for 1 month, 2 months, I don't know. So there's this kind of discrepancy between what people are used to and what the state is able to deliver. And that's a shame. That's a shame because the state has a bigger impact on my life than the new startup, right? So we are trying to solve this gap by taking people who have the culture and the mindset of the digital startups and bring them into the state, tasking them with solving one specific friction between the administration and the citizens. We create a small, agile and autonomous team that's tasked to create a digital service within a 6-month time frame for an early alpha that will be made available to the public. And that will solve this friction between citizens and administration. So a state startup is a group of people who work as public agents, as temporary public agents. We're not talking about an independent private entity that would get money from the state, right? We are building public service. So this is extremely important because it gives us legitimacy to transform the whole administration, right? If we were just doing this on the outside, well, we are new agile outsourcing. So maybe we are doing better service, but it's still outsourcing. The administration doesn't have to think about itself, to reflect and to try and improve. We are proving that you can do this from inside the administration. And that helps all the other entrepreneurs, all the other public agents who believe that they could also change their own administration by giving them leverage. We give them tools and examples to show to their hierarchy, telling they've done it here, they can help us do it there, so let's do it for all the administration. And this way, the state becomes able to create and deliver digital services with the communication tools and interaction ways that citizens are now expecting. So let's pause for a second. Before I show you the products that we're delivering and how we are delivering them, we've seen that in the introduction session, there are different profiles here. So if you're already really used to Agile, you won't learn anything brand new, right? I'm just talking about applying known practices in a place that's extremely opposite to these practices. But I'm not saying we found a magic trigger to suddenly change a huge administration to something really agile, right? So I'll show you the different products and how we are building them, and then we'll use the time for discussion and maybe try and see if there are similar things you could do in your own place. I'll start with the example of MEZED, My Benefits, right? In France, there's quite many different social benefits you can claim beyond social security. I mean, we try and compensate for the differences in income for all citizens. So I'm CTO on this state startup, and the main friction we wanted to solve, the origin of this startup, was what we call non-recours. That is, people not claiming benefits that they are entitled to. The law says that they are allowed to have this help, yet they don't claim it. And, well, 4 years ago, no one really knew why. But for some benefits, it could be pretty impressive. We had 80% of people not claiming their right to, how to translate that, complementary, additional social security reimbursement. In France, we reimburse a percentage, about 70% of the health payments you have to give. And if you have low income, this can go to 80, 90, or even 100%. 80% of people didn't claim this benefit. We had 68% of people not claiming a compensation for low income. If you have a job that gives you very little income and you get part-time, then you can apply for a compensation and get a revenue that's not lower than what you would get for not working. And so we had so many people not claiming these benefits. So the administration had its own task force, right? They were already thinking about the problem. And so after 2 years, they had different ideas on why these benefits weren't claimed. It could be because people didn't know about these benefits, or because the paperwork was too hard to fill in, or because it would be too long before they actually got the benefit and they knew their situation was temporary. So many different reasons. And the solution they came with was, let's consolidate all the different forms and create one form to claim all the benefits at once. Because to make it harder, it's not like we have this benefit agency that gives you everything, right? We have 10 different agencies. And if you want the healthcare thing, you have to know which agency to ask. And if you want the employment compensation thing, you have to know which other agency to ask. So it's pretty difficult to know who to talk with. So they tried to consolidate this form, and they wanted, of course, all the administrations to talk together and unify their conditions for benefits. And no single administration wanted to align with the others, claiming that it was in law and that they had very good reason not to change their conditions for accessing the benefits. So in the end, they had like these 13 pages paper form. And of course, this didn't feel like it would really help citizens claim their benefits. So we started incubating a state startup. 2 people, 2 developers, in interaction with the group that had made all the analysis. And under 6 months, with 2 people, we were able to make a public version of this simulator. So let me walk you through it very quickly. You go to mez.gouv.fr. You just start this simulation here. You just fill in some basic information like your age, your nationality, if you're pregnant, if you're a student, if you have anything special. You go through. You may describe, so same kind of questions for your children, if you have any. We will then ask you if you live alone, if you have someone else in your family, same kind of questions. Then you will describe the place you live in, how much it costs you. And under 5 minutes, like really, we did user testing, extensive user testing. And for someone who's doing it for the first time, it's between 5 and 6 minutes to go through the whole thing. And you get an analysis of your benefits, the amounts, and all the forms and help in filling the claims for 14 different benefits. So this is the end game. That's it, 5 minutes. So we had this first version under 6 months, and at first we didn't do 14 benefits. We did only 7. And we didn't ask many questions. We were wrong on many things, right? We didn't take so many specific cases into account. We still don't do everything. For example, if you live in our overseas territory and you're how do you say that? You work on your own farm, and it's under a certain amount of employees. Well, we could be wrong. But for about 95% of people, 98% of people, it's good. And it's working really well. So we keep on iterating, still with about 2 people as mean. And we continuously improve the service. How so? Well, by delivering with iterations. So actually we deliver slightly more often than 2 weeks. But every 2 weeks we make a recap of what we've built, and we inform the whole ecosystem of what we've done. And we also take some time to reflect and improve on what we've done. So by making stuff public, we were able to collect feedback very early. And then we build upon this feedback. And not only is our current state of affairs public as through our products, our roadmap is also publicly available. It's fully transparent. You can know what we're working on, what we intend to work on, what our priorities, and also all the discussions that lead us to making these choices. You are able to know that here we're working to add people who are on their own for 2 benefits, CMUC and ACS. And if you click on that element, well, you will see all the conversation, all the issues we have, like, well, in this article of law, it feels like we should apply this rule, and someone else on the team will come in and say, no, I think we should rather apply this one. And sometimes we have other people interacting with us. Sometimes we have citizens that chime in. Sometimes we have other administrations that give us hints, and we consolidate the whole conversation in one public, transparent place. So this is how we deliver every 2 weeks. You can follow what we're working on and the decisions we make. But the real question is, how do we define what we will work on? Okay, you can see what we're working on, but how have we decided? So as a product team, an autonomous product team, we make the decisions based on our load, available capacity, and opportunities of partnerships, but also by collecting information collaboratively. Collaboration is extremely important, of course, to engage your stakeholders, but also to make sure you deliver software that's actually useful. So our first group is obviously the end users. That's what we start with. This is the most important source of truth in the service we deliver. But you have to add some tooling to this interaction. You cannot simply say, we want to work with our users. How do you collect feedback? How do you actually get it? We are transparent. We have all these nice things where you can interact with us. You can send us a mail. We try to be available on phone. But still, you have to know us. And many people who could claim benefits don't necessarily have the time to be interested in this fancy modernization thing, right? They have their own life to lead. So we do user testing, and we do several kinds of user testing. We do directed user testing when we have specific hypotheses to test. So we would create prototypes, and then we define segments of users that we want to test with. Sometimes we go directly in the agencies that deliver the benefits. Sometimes we will contact people directly. We've even been to people's homes. Yeah.
How do you define your target audience, the participants and the
Yeah. Good question. The first answer is, well, I'm so glad I'm working for the public, because my audience is 65 million people. Right? That's the first answer. And it's true. I mean, everyone can be interested in benefits, not only poor people. Then how do we segment? It depends on what we want to test. So if I want to test...
so the type of service depends the audience or the feature?
Yes, exactly. If I want to know how is the best way to implement such a feature, then I will define who is interested in that feature, right? That's for very specific hypothesis validation. Then we also have exploratory user testing, in which we will try and present that stuff to pretty much everyone. So the target audiences also evolved over time, right? When I first arrived as a lead here, first thing I did was just show this to everyone I could find, but really everyone. Like I had friends at home, I would show them. I would go to conferences, to everywhere, and just show this. And because if you come up with your own segments at first, that's very good for targeting marketing or whatever. But that's not good for knowing your users. Because when you're not sure of the service you're trying to deliver, right? We know the friction, but we don't have a clue what we're actually trying to build. It will probably be digital. It will be available to everyone. But what is it exactly that we are trying to help people with? Is it knowing their benefits? Is it knowing the amount of one specific benefit? You don't know at first. So just show it to everyone, collect feedback, and then the different segments will emerge. So just like everything else in Agile, try to be very receptive. Now I won't do that large exploratory testing because I pretty much know my audiences. But if I add a new set of benefits, for example, we are now thinking about adding very local benefits, then I need to be exploratory again. So this is how we add tooling for our collaboration with users. Direct interactions, availability, and also we start the collaboration by going towards our users. Then, of course, another partner are the administrations, the ones that will actually give the benefit. And here there's slightly more friction, because trying to explain to these people who have a responsibility for giving the benefits, it's their budget, right? Trying to explain to them that, well, we're delivering this thing, we're making it public, and no, we're not 100% sure that the amounts we are telling people will get is true. We can't be sure right now. This is terrible for them. This is awful, yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. Why you're saying that you're not sure of the amounts? Like, you don't have a certain formula for, I don't know, specific age, specific conditions. You do have the amount there.
Well, supposedly there are rules, but rules are often spread across different laws. So first of all, there's a complexity in finding the rule. Then there's the interpretation of the rule, right? The people who code the rule, who make it executable, they might be wrong. They might have misinterpreted the law. Then there are all the edge cases. So under these set of conditions, you should have that, but actually there is this exception that was voted 3 years later, and sometimes you don't get it at first. So you can't be 100% sure, because you can't be sure that you translated law exactly as it was intended.
But you can confirm with the administration, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why they are our partners. So when we first came, we told them, we're not 100% sure. Can you help us be 100% sure?
So you're talking now about the building phase, not the end. I mean, now it is now the numbers that you provide are 100% sure, or still not yet?
No, as I said.
Okay.
I will show you how we make sure what we give is true. But no, we can't be 100% sure that in every case it will be true. And there's actually something pretty funny. I finish on this thing and I'll tell you the funny thing. So once again, we need tooling because we have discussions, but then we need to agree on something. And the administrations want some kind of strict abstract validation, right? They want their own experts to read the code and make sure that it's been exactly translated as in law. But if we start agreeing to this, well, we're giving away our ability to change, because then the code must not change. It has been validated once, it took 2 months, and then you must not touch it at all. Well, what happens next year when the law changes, the benefits change? You need to, once again, have 3 months lead time, and you need to have all the partners available. So it's really rigidifying what you're trying to do. So we came with another option. And this option was testing. So we created a tool that does acceptance testing. Anyone can go through the simulator, and at the end, there's a little button that says, I think you're wrong. You click there, and it creates a test. It says, that's what we computed. And you can change all these amounts and explain to us why you think it is wrong, and give us references to law. And so all these tests here, if it's green, it means we're almost exact. Like if it's under €1 difference, it's fine. If it's red, then we're wrong. Something's off. And if it's yellow, it's like about within 10% error margin. So it's already enough. So 2 things here. The first is, remember vision. For the moment, our aim is to make sure people who are eligible to benefits claim them. That's the most important thing. So, if it's slightly off, is it so much of a problem? It is a problem. Of course it is a problem. But the main thing is people don't even know these benefits exist. They don't even know they could be eligible to it. So, of course, if we say too much and then they get less, well, it's problematic and we will try and fix it. But because it will generate frustration. But still it's better than having people simply not getting the benefit at all while they were eligible to it, right? So we're iterating over this vision, but delivering value as early as possible. And the main value is making people claim their benefits. So the second thing I wanted to talk about, and that's the funny thing. At first, when we came with this, they laughed at us, right? They said, but come on, how many tests do you want us to write? What sense does it make? I will never be able to cover all the cases, right? Yeah, you're right. It's very hard, and we helped them, and we created tests on our own, and we had a long teaching phase, and it took us a lot of time. At first we had 20 tests, then 30, then 70, and now we have 500 tests, and we're actually having, for example, these last red ones here. What's pretty funny is they give us red tests. They say you are wrong. We take now 2 days to try and understand the test. At first, of course, we were very wrong. Now we take 2 days. We read the law again and again, and now we're starting to tell them, well, you know, it might be that your test is wrong. And when their test is wrong, it means that an actual person had a wrong estimation. Not on our side, on their side. So at first we were extremely off. Then we made it better and better and better. And now we are starting to get better than some of the administrations themselves. 500 tests and still growing. After 6 months, when we had the first public alpha and about 100 tests, of course, didn't do it. Now it's 18 months and we're getting better than them. And we're still helping. I mean, when I say better, it's not some kind of competition, right? It's just that we're showing that this person is not eligible to 15 euros per month, but 18. And if it's 18, then it's above the lower limit. And this person should get the benefit while you consider that it shouldn't. So that's how we add tooling for collaboration with the administrations. Very hard at first, but you don't need to fight on the fundamental values because they are right and we are right. Everyone is right. We are right in wanting to deliver value early and quickly. They are right in wanting to be extremely precise because it's their budget. They are right also. However, there is one thing you must get them to work with. It's tooling that allows reproducibility. So you accept their constraints, but you equip them with ways that don't prevent you from changing quickly. Then, of course, another set of partners we're working with. We didn't work with them at the very beginning because our main aim are citizens, but now we are also working with all the agents, be it public agents or members of associations that help people get their benefits. And we are now trying to improve the simulator because we know it works well now for individuals, and now we want to make it also more useful for people who do 20, 50 simulations a day for others. So here, as we're earlier in the process, and also since we're facing professionals don't have necessarily that much time. So we meet them every month to every 2 months, and we move around France to make sure that pretty much everyone is heard. And this has two effects. First of all, we get to get feedback from professional users, but we also help them grow a community. Because when everyone gets around the table, it's supposedly to talk about the software, but after 1 hour, they start talking about their own practices. And so we're improving the quality of service globally, not only through our simulator. Software becomes a catalyst for change for everyone. That's how we add tooling for collaboration with all the partners. So I'll try to go a bit faster on another product that we're doing. Once again, friction, iteration, collaboration. This time, it's not about individuals, it's about companies. This thing here says, my company of 1 employee wants to pay an employee I don't know how to translate this. Yeah, in non-management, let's say. Yeah, you can say management or non-management. But this is not about, let's say that. For this amount per month, and my company has this kind of status, blah, 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 this will cost that much per month, and my employee will get that much per month. Okay? So you can't see it with this projector, unfortunately, but these elements are underlined here. And all of these, you can change. Instead of my company, you can say my association. Instead of 1, you can put as many employees as you have. And you can change this amount, of course. And everything will update there. What's the friction? The friction is all the taxes. There are so many different taxes that it's extremely hard to know when you're an employer how much getting a new employee will cost. Most people in France believe that it's about twice the amount the person will get, which is extremely wrong. It's true for high salaries, but it's not true at all for lower incomes. And so we have many employers that complain, that say, it's too expensive. And in some cases it might be true, but in many cases it's simply that this global impression is off. So we are trying to make it easier to understand what's the real cost, either for you to make a proper business plan or to not have friction employing someone new, and basically remove surprise, right? So we're making law computable, just like we did for social benefits, making law computable. And it's pretty naked, right? All that white thing doesn't look very sexy. Yeah, it's voluntary. I devised this interface. And why is it so naked? Because I don't think, and it's not I think, it's after 2 months of research, I realized that no one would go to some new shiny tool. It would take at least 2 years to diffuse, to be known, because employers already have tons of ways to get information about the actual cost, right? Either they pay an expert or they already have 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 different administrations they already interact with. So why is it so white? Well, because it can be blue, or it can be pink, or it can be whatever. It's a widget. It's a widget that any structure can get inside its tooling. This is a startup that helps other startups and small to medium companies do their business plans. I'm never, as the state, I'm never going to help do business plans, right? This is not my job. But what I can do is remove law complexity. I can make it computable and make it very easy for tool makers to integrate this decreasing of complexity in their own tool set. So we're now diffusing this in private sector, but also in many different administrations, of course. And they integrate this, and the employer doesn't have to change its habits. It goes still to the same places, but now they are better equipped to answer its questions. Once again, very nice to be in the public sector here, because I don't care if I'm not visible there. My aim is only to reduce friction for everyone. So 6 months for the first version of this production thing. Yeah. And 1 person. I was alone on this at first. And now we're just iterating. Being more precise in taxes, exact same set of tooling, right? Same thing. I did research, we have user testing, and we have this testing thing, automated testing, and we try and get more administrations to interact with us to add more tests. Right now we have about 30, I think. It's all public, once again. And of course, we're off on some cases. It's easier to compute than the benefits. But we're off. When we'll have 500 tests, we will be better than pretty much everyone else. Why so? Because we have accumulated knowledge from so many different sources that we're necessarily better than every single administration that doesn't know how to interact with the others. As I said, it's free. It's free and it's open source. Pretty much everything we do is free and open source. So it can be used at no cost by everyone, including private companies. That's fine. We're fine with that. But distributing for free, of course, it's never for free, right? It's public money. I'm paid by taxes. So we accept that private sector make people pay for additional, better usage that's based on this thing. But distributing for no financial counterpart doesn't mean no counterpart at all. We use an open source license that grants contribution back. If you build upon this tool, if you make it better, you have to bring everything back to the community. And we will decide what's meaningful for everyone. So we create a common, I don't know if you're familiar with this idea, but an informational common. It's common good, right? It's for everyone. You can take it as you please. The only thing is you have to give back if you use it and improve it. So a state startup, friction, iteration, collaboration, and embrace uncertainty. By embracing uncertainty, for many people, for many of our partners, it feels like we have huge risk. But it's not true. We decrease risk. It's just not the same kind of risk we're addressing. They are afraid at being wrong. Yeah, fine. That's their constraints. It's true. We decrease risk of delivering something that no one cares about. We decrease risk of delivering something people wanted but 2 years ago and now no one cares about. We're decreasing the risk of continuing a project for more than 6 months. Right? If after 6 months we don't have a public demo where at least, I don't know, where we have several partners that are interested in this, we will kill the startup. We'll kill the startup. It didn't cost that much. But how do we mitigate this risk of failure and make sure it's not a real failure? By having public code and by building infrastructure. All the products I've shown you are based upon APIs that we create. They are what we call appeal products. So if the social benefits thing doesn't really work, well, now we know it works, but at first we couldn't know. Same thing. If this computation of employee cost isn't the exact service employers are interested in, maybe this service will die. And that's fine. Because what we've done is make law computable. And we've made this available through an API. So if we were wrong with the implementation, we still did something that no one else could do. It's making law computable. And then someone else will come up with a better idea for a service. So even if a startup is a failure, we make sure it's not an utter failure. We make sure the most important part of the investment was properly used. So this is how we both empower the ecosystem and spread innovation. Even if they are reluctant at first, the administrations soon realize all the untapped potential of exposing their data and their services. So all our code is available. It's open source. We get many contributions, even from public individuals. And by valorizing public contributions, we hope to visibly align the politicians and the people's goals. As they should always be, actually. Yes? Yeah, I'm 30 seconds. So this is how we make the state able to build digital products that improve public services. And we use transparency and openness to make sure we consistently deliver value and to try and diffuse this culture of innovation. Thank you.